Okay, so I want to talk about the fact that I think a lot of people on our side are playing right into Donald Trump's hands. And what I'm talking about is the tendency by so many on our side to have a completely defeatist attitude. So many people willing to just accept that all is lost. The country is over. Donald Trump is going to get everything he wants. He's going to be a dictator for life. He's never going to leave office. He's going to be a king. We're not going to have elections anymore. We're going to have martial law, and on and on and on. And I think this kind of attitude is going to essentially create a self-fulfilling prophecy. Just accepting all of that as a foregone conclusion is going to make it more likely to happen. And that's exactly what Donald Trump wants us to think. He wants us to think there's nothing we can do to stop him. He wants us to think it's all over. He wants us to already accept the idea that he's never going to leave office, that he's going to be a king for life, that we're not going to have any more elections. If we accept this, then we won't fight against it. That's what he wants. And I think it is so divorced from reality, because while things are really bad right now, and I'm not going to pretend that they're not, and they're going to get a lot worse, I do not accept all of that doom and gloom. And you know, it really seems that a lot of people, they just want the doom porn. It seems like that is I see it so much on social media, on YouTube included. It's just constant doom porn. It's the sky is falling, it's all over. And really, people should be cautiously optimistic about our chances to fight against this and turn it around. Because the actual truth is that politically, Donald Trump is not doing well right now. Now, he's doing a lot of bad. He's accomplishing a lot of crap with his executive orders and so forth. But also, a lot of his executive orders are just meaningless nonsense. And people react to it when really so much of it is just nonsense. Anyway, I want to get I want to set the stage for this by starting out talking about where we really are right now politically for Donald Trump, because people think he's so popular and he can't be defeated. Well, there's nothing we can do to stand up to him. He's a juggernaut. He's got the whole country behind him. That's nonsense. It's not true. Now, he might be telling you that, and he seems to be telling himself that. In fact, let's take a look at some ridiculous comments he just made yesterday. Check this out.
I think so far we're very popular. I had an approval rating today of 71 and another one of 69. I have not heard of those numbers before. I think so far we're very popular.
Sorry. Guys, that is completely delusional. He doesn't have approval numbers anywhere near 69 and 71%. The truth of the matter is, Donald Trump right now has the lowest approval rating of any president in history at this point in his term. This is supposed to be the honeymoon period for him. And his approval rating is in the low 40s, right? Most incoming presidents are north of 50 for sure, and most are 60% or more at this point in their presidency. They're in this honeymoon period. Not Trump. He's in the low 40s. He's historically unpopular. He just barely won the election. He won the popular vote by like 1.5%. 49.9% of the vote. Didn't even get a majority. This is not a popular guy. And let's talk about the truth of where he is right now in the polling. Take a look at this.
The last day and change has been the worst day of polling for Donald Trump during his entire second term in office. What am I talking about here? We'll take a look at Trump's net approval rating. CNN, you see it on this side of the screen, -5. Gallup, -6. Ipsos, -7. Quinnipiac, -4. Negative, 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 underwater, 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 underwater. These four polls, all of them tell a consistent story, and that is Trump is on the negative side of the ledger. His net approval is negative. He is underwater like the Little Mermaid.
All right, what are the changes since the beginning of his term?
Oh,
January.
Right, all right. So we don't have a CNN poll to compare, but we do have the other three pollsters that we can look at. Trump's net approval rating, the change since January. Look at this. Gallup, down 5 points. Quinnipiac, down 7 points. Ipsos, down 13 points. They polled right at the beginning of his presidency, so not a big surprise that shows the worst change for Donald Trump. But the bottom line is this. Across the 4 new polls that we have, all of them have Trump in net negative approval rating, and the 3 in which we have a trend line, we see Donald Trump heading in the wrong direction, swimming upstream, you might say.
Okay, so that's the truth of where Donald Trump is in the polls. He is losing support on a daily basis, and it's only going to get worse because not only is he not going to reduce prices and make everyone's life better, he is going to do the exact opposite with his policies and his tariffs and all of this stuff. He's going to make everything worse. And keep this in mind too. Public opinion lags what's actually happening in the world. So, and the fact that his approval rating is already dropping, not good news for Trump. It's going to continue to drop. And not only that, it's not just the American people turning on Trump. There's already some glimmers of hope where Republicans are actually starting to oppose Donald Trump on some stuff. And the fact that any of them would oppose him on anything, especially just a month into his presidency, is a big deal. Here we have House Republican says Trump's executive orders are getting out of control. Okay, they're starting to wake up to this crap. Here is from yesterday. Fox News host Mark Levin turns on Trump for bullying Zelensky. Okay, it's starting. It's happening, albeit slowly and just one at a time here. But this I expect to pick up steam. Wait until Donald Trump, gets more in bed with Putin. Right now it's just been words directed at Zelensky. Let's see what happens. Wait until Donald Trump pulls us out of NATO. Wait till that kind of stuff happens. All right? And as I said, what he is doing is going to cause so much economic pain in this country. Look at all these executive orders. Look at DOGE, right? Slashing the federal workforce, slashing programs illegally and unconstitutionally. These things have not yet had their full effect yet. People haven't begun to feel all of these things yet, but they will. Okay, economists are already predicting major recession because of the things that Donald Trump is doing. And the world 6 months from now isn't going to look, I predict, anything like it looks right now, let alone 2 years from now. And so when I talk about impeachment in my last video and how this needs to be something we should be working towards, we can't get it done right now, but in the not too distant future, especially after the midterm elections, we might be able to impeach this guy. When I make a video like that and then I see so many people in the comments section tell me that it's not possible, that it's fairy tale stuff, and I mean that defeatist attitude, telling me that it's all over, I need to accept the fact that the country's finished and we're going to have dictatorship, all of this stuff, that's playing right into Trump's hands. Okay, so I covered this. Oh, here's another one. Here is a Republican representative at a town hall meeting in his district. Take a look at this.
When you talk about presidential power, I remember having the same discussion with Republicans when Biden was elected. The funny thing is,
Yeah, this piece of garbage is getting booed. They're not having any of this. And you know where this is? Georgia. This is a Republican district in Georgia. And he's getting booed. They're not accepting this when he tries to equate what Trump is doing, the constitutional violations and the illegality, the power grabs, when he tries to equate that to what Joe Biden did. This Republican district in Georgia, they weren't having any of it. And we're just 1 month into the presidency. I don't want to be Pollyanna about this and think, oh, nothing bad's going to happen. We got this. We're going to be able to impeach him. Everything's going to be fine. Now, I don't know if we'll be able to impeach him. But it is definitely a possibility, and it's one we should pursue. Okay? And I think that giving up in advance and saying, oh, this could never happen, it's all over, you're crazy to think we can impeach him. Okay, giving up in advance? How is that helpful? I just don't think it's helpful, and I think it's actually detrimental. It makes things worse. It emboldens Trump. If enough people believe that is all over and there's nothing we can do to stop Trump, well then guess what? No one's going to even try to stop Trump. If we just accept it, then it will become reality. A self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm not going there, okay? Maybe it will get there. Maybe we will be completely unsuccessful and Trump will become a dictator and wipe away the Constitution and declare martial law and all of that stuff. But it doesn't have to be. And it's much more likely that it will be if we adopt this defeatist attitude and just give in to the doom and gloom, which is so easy to do, by the way. And unfortunately, it's what gets clicks and views. And that's why we're seeing so much of it, because people eat it up. I don't know why they want to eat that up, but they do. Anyway, I'd like to deal with some of the comments I got. Not to so much. I don't want to put anyone on the spot or anything like that. I really just want to deal with some of the things that people are saying in the comments section, because I'm seeing some of these comments over and over, and I just want to address them. And in no particular order, I'm going to address a few of these. Here's one. These are in response to my video about impeachment. This person writes, yes, but then we would have Vance, and he's worse. Okay, I've heard this one a lot, and I don't accept it. I completely reject it. In what way is Vance worse? Vance at worst is just as bad. Or maybe you could say he's worse in that he's smarter than Trump. And all that kind of stuff. Even if you think he's more radical on the issues. Look, Donald Trump's positions on the issues don't matter because he's not engaged in the policy anyway. He is golfing. He doesn't give a shit about any of this stuff. So all of the worst people are already in charge of all of this stuff. The Project 2025 people, those are the people who are actually doing all this stuff. So when Donald Trump issues executive orders, for example, do you think Donald Trump came up with any of those executive orders? No. He just signs them. He never even saw the things before they put it in front of him and he signs it. So the worst people are already running the show in the White House. But here's why I'm not worried about Vance. Vance has no charisma. He was the most unpopular vice presidential candidate in history for a reason. People don't like him. He has no charisma. He's not compelling. Nobody follows him. He has no ability to persuade anyone. And for that reason, he is much less dangerous than Donald Trump. J.D. Vance has no ability to command the personal loyalties of a cult. Yes, the cult will support him if he becomes president, but not in the same way. They're not going to lay down their lives, or they wouldn't be willing to, for J.D. Vance the way they are for Donald Trump. They're not going to worship J.D. Vance as a friggin' demigod the way they do Donald Trump. So, yes, J.D. Vance would be bad, but worse than Trump? Not a chance. Okay, here's another one. Martial law will suspend elections before the midterms. Here's another one. To me, that's not going to happen. Do not underestimate Trump. His plan is obvious. Start a war, introduce martial law, liquidate Constitution, and stay in power to the rest of his days. Look, I'm not going to argue that those things aren't theoretically possible. They are. And I'm not going to argue that Trump won't try to do those things. He probably will. But let's deal with a couple of these in turn. Martial law. First of all, people throw that around so willy-nilly. Oh, he's going to declare martial law. First of all, that's not a thing in the United States. Martial law is civilian control by the military. Okay, that is not allowed under our laws or our Constitution. I know people seem to think that Trump can just declare martial law, but it's not actually a constitutional thing that he can do. It would be yet another flagrant violation of the Constitution. And I know He's violating the Constitution now. He doesn't give a damn about the laws and the Constitution. I agree. But if he did that, I'm not saying he couldn't try. I mean, he could declare martial law and attempt to implement it. But how do you think that would go, really? Okay? It wouldn't go very well for Donald Trump. You think we're all just going to sit by and take that? Do you think the governors in the various states would go along with it and submit to military control of their states? No, it's not going to happen. And people think, oh, well, what are we going to do? We can't oppose the United States military. People really, I think this idea that the military can just take complete control of the civilian population of this country is ludicrous. We couldn't even win the fucking war in Afghanistan, for crying out loud. A tiny little impoverished country. You think the United States military would effectively have military control over 330 plus million people in this enormous country of ours, with states who would oppose it and say, we're not going along with this shit? No. It's much easier said than done. And if we're going to talk about people not living in the real world, people who think that Trump can just, declare martial law and we're all just going to submit, it's not going to happen that way. Okay? If Trump tried to declare martial law, there would be a reaction to that. People would not go along. Do you think that the military is going to be rolling down the streets of every friggin' community in this country and putting American citizens at the end of a barrel of a gun to force their compliance? First of all, we don't have the manpower for that. You could put the entire military to that purpose and they could never accomplish that goal. There simply aren't enough of them. Okay, it's just not possible. And if Trump tried to declare martial law, then we would see states secede from the Union. That would absolutely happen. Same if he tried to cancel elections. Here's the Constitution, Article 4, Section 4. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this Union a Republican form of government. If Donald Trump tried to cancel elections, first of all, the president doesn't control elections. We don't have federally run elections in this country. All of our elections are run by the states. So even if Trump said, I declare no elections in November, no one's going to go along with him. Or worst case scenario, maybe some of his Trump cultists who run some of these Republican states, maybe they would say, yes, master, we won't hold elections. All right, maybe. You think all these other states are going to go along with that and go, well, I guess we can't have elections. Trump said we can't have elections. No. And how's he going to prevent them from having elections? Again, is he going to send the military in there and take over the governor's office and the Secretary of State's office and local elections offices and all of this? Guys, that's not going to happen. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, Republican form of government. So if Trump tried to cancel elections, he'd be violating Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. The federal government, again, the United States, meaning the federal government, shall guarantee to every state in this union a Republican form of government. If the federal government is going to attempt to deny us elections, deny us a Republican form of government, then guess what? This republic is null and void. And states will say, we're out. You're not going to guarantee elections in this country. You're not going to guarantee us a Republican form of government. We're out. We're no longer part of the United States. You would see that all over the place. Okay, I don't know exactly how all of this would play out, but I know that if some of these worst case scenario things, martial law, he's going to end elections, we're not going to have any more elections. What do you think? We're all just going to sit by and allow that to happen? No, there's going to be a reaction to that. We're not just going to acquiesce and submit to that. And if our population, if enough people in this country have reached that point that if Donald Trump just declared martial law and declared an end to elections, that we would all just go along with it, well then you know what? You're right. The country's over anyway. If that's what our population has become, if that's what our state governments have become all across the country, if that's who the people of this country have become, just willing to submit to out-and-out tyranny, then you're right, it is over. And maybe we have reached that point. I just don't think we have. And until I know for a fact that we have, I'm not going to accept it. Because by accepting it, you're gonna You're going to accept it into existence. That's what's going to happen. So count me out. We need to oppose this as long as we can. And there's no reason right now to think we can't oppose this. I mean, Trump, look at those polls. Okay, everyone, people ask me all the time, what can we do? What can we do to stop this? The first step to anything that we could do to oppose Donald Trump begins with turning public opinion against him, right? That is a necessary prerequisite to anything we would do. And, I hear people so many times, it's funny, in response to my video about impeaching Trump, and I know we can't impeach him right now, but getting to a point where we can impeach him and remove him. In response to that, I get so many people saying that's not possible, it'll never happen, we have to look at our other alternatives. And you're ridiculous if you're talking about impeachment. We have to go to these other alternatives. What alternatives are those? Civil war? Violent insurrection? Okay, those are possible things. But don't you think we should maybe start with a political solution if we can? Because here's the news flash for you. It will be easier to impeach and remove him than it will to have a civil war. Okay? So I think for a lot of reasons, including efficacy, we should start with the political solutions. If we get enough people to oppose Trump and put pressure on our elected officials, look, again, let's return to this. This is so important. You want to know what you can do? This.
When you talk about presidential power, I remember having the same discussion with Republicans when Biden was elected.
You want to know what you can do? You can do that. Okay, put pressure on these elected officials. That man, what's his name? Rich McCormick of Georgia. That Republican. Guess what? He has a vote when it comes to impeachment. Okay? We put enough pressure on people like him so that people like him fear us more than they fear Donald Trump, then we can impeach Donald Trump. And it would be easier to do that than to engage in warfare against our fellow Americans and against the government and against the U.S. military. Okay? I think it's a better option. Okay? If it's not successful and if we're forced into a corner, maybe we could proceed with those other options. But those are harder. So how about we at least try with the political option first? And this is possible. And I'm telling you too, Donald Trump is a lame duck. Okay? Don't give in to this bullshit that he's going to run for a third term and all that stuff. Okay? He wants you to be fearful of that. He wants you to think that that's actually a thing. It's not a thing, and it's not going to happen. But he's going to become more and more of a lame duck. With each passing day, that's one day we are closer to that man being out of office. And he becomes more and more of a lame duck. And after the midterm elections, we're going to be having Republicans jump in the race for the Republican nomination for president. The Republican Party, by necessity, will start moving on from Donald Trump. And again, where are we going to be, politically speaking, 2 years from now, when Donald Trump has made an absolute disaster of this country? What's going to happen when people start losing their Medicare or their Social Security or other things? Are people still going to support Donald Trump? No. Okay? Yes, maybe his hardcore cult followers will. This country can and will, I believe, turn radically against Donald Trump. And impeachment will become a real possibility. Show up to these town halls. Make these politicians more afraid of us than they are of Donald Trump. And really, it's not Donald Trump that they're afraid of. They're afraid of Donald Trump. But why? Because of his cult. Because of his supporters. That's why they're afraid of him. Let's shrink his support, and they will be less and less afraid of Donald Trump and more afraid of us. That's the problem right now, and it has been for years. These cowards in Washington are more afraid of Trump than they are of us. We flip that, and we can get rid of Donald Trump. We can impeach him and remove him. Okay, here's another one. Sorry, in 2 years, some of us don't have time to wade through all this bullshit being perpetrated by the criminals in the White House, Senate, and the House of Representatives. It seems that too many on both sides have lost their morality, their courage, and their effing minds. 2 years, my ass. Start the proceedings now. Okay, I love this sentiment, but practically speaking, impeachment proceedings right now and I know someone has introduced an article of impeachment, I think it would be counterproductive. There is no chance of us impeaching and removing him from office right now. And I think it would be, if there's no chance, we shouldn't be doing it right now, because it'll be counterproductive in this sense. It'll become a boy who cries wolf situation. If we're introducing articles of impeachment every week that have no chance, and we're talking about impeachment that has no chance of going anywhere, people are going to start to tune out impeachment as a possibility completely. Oh, they're at the impeachment thing again. So while I wish we could get rid of him right now, we have to wait for the right moment. Right now is not the right moment, but the right moment might not be too far off in advance. Here's another one. There aren't going to be midterms. There is no hope. Again, Trump has no authority to cancel elections, but even if he tried to, there will be a reaction. There will be secession. Okay, first of all, do you think his cult, do you think Republicans are all in the Congress all going to go along with him on that? Canceling elections? Saying out, I am a king, I dissolve the republic, there will be no more elections? Are they all going to go along with that? We might be in a position to impeach and remove him then if he tries to do something like that. But even if they did go along with it in Washington, and yes, we should cancel all elections, yes, we should dissolve our republic and abolish democracy in the United States, are the states going to go along with that? Are all the governors going to go along with that? Or are they going to say, the hell with this, we're out? If we're no longer a democracy, if this is no longer a republic, then we are no longer part of the United States. We're out of here. There will be a reaction to this. I don't understand this presumption that there will not be a reaction, that we just go along with it, that Donald Trump can just dictate, there shall be no more elections, I am king. What, we just go along with it? No. Here's one. Think you're too optimistic about him not declaring himself a king. Well, actually, he's already declared himself a king. You know, that tweet or whatever the hell he posted the other day, long live the king. The White House posts an image of him with a crown on his head. He's already declared himself a king. So what? Stop taking the bait and reacting to this kind of crap like it's a real thing. Like, oh, well, he declared himself king. I guess he's a king. I guess we're not a democracy anymore because Trump declared himself a king. What if he declared himself pope too? Are we going to go along with that? This guy's a psychopath. He could declare himself whatever the hell he wants. It doesn't make it so. Why do we go along with this? Why do we react exactly the way he wants us to react? So much of this is just professional shit posting. That's what Donald Trump is, a shit poster. What does this man do with his time? He watches Fox News, he eats McDonald's, he golfs, and he shit posts on Truth Social. That's what he does. He wants this kind of reaction. Stop giving it to him. Mock him. Laugh at him. All right? Yes, I know he's doing a lot of bad things, and these executive orders are terrible, many of them. A lot of them are meaningless. But so much of what he says he's doing and is going to do, it's not going to happen. We should be mocking him for this. Is Canada going to be the 51st state? Hell no. Yet he keeps saying it. Mock him. Okay? Greenland? We're not going to have Greenland. That's not going to happen. Mock him. We're not going to have Gaza. Mock him. We're not taking over Panama. Mock him. I'm going to do a video about this. The president of Mexico is openly mocking him and pushing back on this whole Gulf of America thing. As I explained to you, Trump's executive order didn't actually rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. No one else points this shit out. Nobody else bothers to read these executive orders. They just go along with whatever Donald Trump says. Google went along with it. Apple went along with it. You know what the president of Mexico is doing? She is going to sue Google and Apple if they don't change the name back to the Gulf of Mexico. And she cites Trump's executive order, which says Trump doesn't even attempt to rename the Gulf of Mexico. And I'm going to sue Google and Apple if they don't change it back. Okay? We don't have to accept all this friggin' nonsense. Stop accepting it. Stop playing into his hands. Okay, one final thing, and I know this is already long, but I want to make this. You know what? Forget it. I'm not going to make that point. I've already gone way too long. I'll save it for another video. Anyways, that's it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon. Chin up. No defeatism. We can fight back against this. Fight. All right, that's it. Talk to you again soon.